WNST, Towson, Baltimore, down to Texas this weekend, but many were on a golf course watching it rain with kids out on a holiday weekend doing whatever you're doing, and you look up and you say it's 30-14 at halftime, and how can this be? And I tell you what, Bruce Posner is all things Terps at Terp Talk out at terptalk.com, as well as on Twitter at Terp Talk, and of course does radio and a little work out at Press Box as well. Bruce, I don't know that even DJ Durkin knew that they had 51 in him and special teams in him, and how Pigram was really going to play in front of 89,000 people down in Austin, Texas. But that was as impressive a start to a season as any Maryland school in any sport has ever had, right?
Well, I'm going to step it up one notch more. I think it was the biggest win for the program in 15 years since they defeated Clemson to get to the Orange Bowl. I thought that it was a statement. It was just, here's what you look at, Nestor. It proves what a great coach and staff that Durkin has, that they were able to coach up Pigram from last year into the player that he was Saturday, because he was special on Saturday. You know that. And it says so much about the program. And to go into Texas, all right, to go into a 18-point underdog, we don't have a shot. Tom Herman, best coach in the country, first game. Let me tell you something. Maryland dominated that game from the second of the interception by Texas to the end of the game. That was it. It was an unbelievable performance, and Texas is lucky it wasn't worse.
Well, I mean, the game did get close now. End of the third quarter, Maryland saw this thing slipping away a little bit. But the fact that they rebounded the way they did, and good to see Jake Funk running the ball around a little bit too. I've got a little bit of a crush on him, and I know he scored that touchdown at the end that sort of salted the thing. He was a kid from Damascus who beat my Dundalk Owls like a drum about a year and a half ago when I went over to the stadium in the state finals. So I like to see the local kids running the ball, but Pigram was really the story, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, just running and passing. And, of course, Nestor, tell me why Ty Johnson doesn't get some national notoriety against Texas' vaulted front seven. He goes 11 carries for 132 yards, a 12-yard average. That's insane, Nestor. It really is. This kid is really something special. I had 2 kickoff returns for 80 yards. And Pigram, what else could he have done? I mean, he did everything. Threw for 2 touchdowns, ran for 1. I mean, he was beyond belief. It's just really a shame that he got hurt. But then to have the stature to bring this kid off the bench, Kasim Hill, who, hasn't played. He's in Texas. The game is somewhat on the line. And to perform like he did, things are looking up rosy for Maryland football.
Well, I tell you, coming into this Towson game now, it really does change expectations when you win. And, Bruce, Durkin went through this last year when they went out and beat the snot out of Purdue, right? You beat Purdue 51-0, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, this is going to be different this year with Michigan and Ohio State." The difference for Maryland is, much like when they were in the ACC, they always got to test themselves when Florida or Miami or that Penn State out-of-conference game came knocking. They'll be able to get tested again and again and again in October, November, and they're going to lose some football games this year. But I tell you what, that win has changed everything in 1 week. That the people a little bit on the periphery of Maryland football, not someone like yourself that's going to watch them no matter what, but the growing of the program, the growing of believing that they can be a representative bowl team year in and year out, and not just a team that is going to beat Towson every now and again and maybe knock off Penn State or Michigan in a bad year, but to be a representative Big Ten team. This was an incredible statement, and against Texas, where they just spent a lot of money, they just brought in a new coach, they have all the tradition, they believe they should always win at home. They looked at this as a cakewalk game, right? I mean, that's why they booked it.
I think the best thing that might have happened in this game was that early interception for a TD. I think it did 2 things. I think it calmed the Terps down, and I think it might have put Texas in a mindset that this is going to be a cakewalk. And the way they stormed back and scored, and the blocked field goal attempt for a touchdown. Look, 27-7, Nestor, kicking a field goal. If it's good, it's 30-7 with about 3 or 4 minutes to go in the half. Texas offense really didn't do much all day. They really only scored 13 points. And it was, to me, I never thought we were going to lose that game. Never. And I'm the biggest pessimist in that situation because I love them so much. But I just had a feeling that entire time that there was no way they were going to lose.
He is Bruce Posner. You can find him out at Terp Talk on Twitter as well as TerpTalk.com. Covering all things Terps, and of course, Terps have a big soccer matchup against Indiana, so football's not the only thing going on, but it certainly does feel that way. And look, the basketball program, it goes without saying, Bruce, for 30, 35 years now, even 40 years, going back to the 73 team, there's always been some accolades there. But for the football side, this really is kind of an awakening, right, for everyone out there to say maybe this. Now they're expected to go out and beat Towson 50-0 because when you go down to Texas and put 51 points up, there's no saying how much damage this could be. This is kind of a rough spot for Towson this week, right?
Yeah, it is, but, Maryland, I think the game won't be, I think it might be closer than you think, all right? Towson's got a lot of pride. The coach has done an unbelievable job, Ambrose, and Maryland should win it easy, but don't start looking past games. You know what I mean? There was a great win. Take them one at a time. Central Florida's going to be a tough game, and then they hit the road. So they got their work cut out. But
there was no thinking they were going to be 4-0 when they saw Ohio State. You can look up now and say, all right, let's get through Towson. Then you get a bye, and then you have UCF at home, and then you go out to Minnesota, which that any road game in the Big Ten is going to be trouble for you. But there is a point where you look at this and you say they might be 4-0 by the time they get to Ohio State next month. I mean, I don't think anybody would have thought that last week.
No, Minnesota on the road's going to be tough. But the best thing about playing Towson and then having a bye week is that Kasim Hill gets a chance to get a ton of work, a ton of reps. It moves him along. They can get Bortenschlager more prepared. And it's really a good time. Normally you don't want a bye week so early, but this is one time with Pigram going down that I think it works in its favor. But, it's funny, Nestor, you made a good point. Look, you and I know that Maryland is a basketball school. I mean, there's just, it's ridiculous, but that's what it is.
Just like Penn State's a football school and Ohio State's a football school, yeah.
I go to my club yesterday and play golf, and the first guy comes up to me, and everybody's talking about the football game, but the first guy comes up to me, he said, what do you think of this Bruno Fernando? I said, man, we just beat Texas, basketball. I said, basketball's not for 2 months. We just beat Texas, a program-changing win. But that's how it is. I mean, people are just freaky over basketball around here, and it takes a win over Texas where everybody in the state, and let's face it, pouring down rain on Saturday at noon, what else was there to do except to watch the Texas game?
Once they got the lead, after the interception and they came back, they got their noses bloodied. I think people started to believe a little bit, and we'll see what outfits they come out in against Towson. Bruce Posner's going to be out at Terp Talk and TerpTalk.com. You can follow him out on Twitter. He does radio down the dial. He does press box and all things Terps, and a very, very good feeling going into a football season here. That football is not just relegated to Sundays around here, right, Bruce?
Without question. And let me say also, a regular guest on the Sunday Sports Voice with Dennis Kalatzis.
On Thursdays.
And a regular guest with Nasty.
All right, man. Well, Bruce, love having you on, man. Love talking about a big victory. We'll see where we go with Pigram and obviously against Towson this week, so we'll be looking at the game all week long. Always a pleasure to have you on, Bruce. Thanks for making some time, man.
All right, we'll get you next week.
You got it. Bruce Posner joining us here talking all things Terp from Terp Talk. Don't forget, if you are headed over for the Ravens game in London later on in the month, we are throwing a massive party on Saturday the 23rd at the Fox at XL. It's in the Docklands area of East London. It's right off the tube, very easy to find, about 2 blocks away from the Emirates Air cable car ride. We are going to march en masse from the bar 252 down to the cable car and take the cable car across the River Thames in a purple march march across the river to the O2 Arena, which is a lot of fun. The O2 Arena is a big centerpiece place for London. If you're going over on the trip, make sure you get there. And I figure Saturday afternoon is going to be a pretty great afternoon to be over at the O2 Arena and checking out some food and some vibe. Lots of bars, lots of restaurants. It's a huge entertainment district in the east side of London. You can find me out on the internet 24 hours a day in the buyatoyota.com audio vault. It's there for you anytime, anywhere. Download podcasts, listen to when you want, where you want. The kids do call it podcasting these days, but it's just an audio vault. Listen to what you want, where you want. Pretty easy. Morning newspaper delivers to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That's all brought to you by Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life, and you get all the news and the views before breakfast. If there's any breaking news, that is all brought to you by our friend Dennis Kolatzis and Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. That is our WNST tech service. About 10,000 of you now on it each and every day. When things happen, you get it first. And certainly the Ravens made a bunch of moves over the weekend to try to figure out the roster and figure out the offensive line as we head out to Cincinnati this week. Wow, it's great to have like the Orioles in the race. Terps, nice start. Towson involved here this week with the Terps. Towson involved with Morgan last week. A lot of local flavor here as we get ready for Ravens in Cincinnati this week. Even the Caps are getting back on the ice. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and streaming live on our YouTube WNS TV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.